You are watching Conscious Evolution with Wes Heffernan.
Even with all the information, all the reading and studying, what I never really truly realized was I'm studying metaphysics. And so I probably have enough time invested to have a master's or PhD in metaphysics as it stands now. But if there was going to be a course of study that I would choose, it would be that, because it deals with exactly the nature of everything that we're discussing and have discussed and will discuss. That is straight up metaphysics. And I didn't know that until about a month ago.
Wow. So what is the path for one who is studying metaphysics, graduates? What is their next step? Where do they work? What do they do?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what we are working on collectively is this very loosely oriented group that is slowly creating a network around themselves. But we want to
get all together in a room with a bunch of cameras.
Well, okay, but bigger than that, we want to create something that brings all of these ideas and concepts together into one place, right? And where you can, no matter which field or what thought or what passion you have, right? There's going to be something within this concept, this, it's not a company, but right, this organization that we're trying to put together, where you fit in. And because what's one of the important keys is finding your purpose and your place, right? So I think there's a lot of people that are driven towards their purpose, but they don't know where to put that, where to place it, right? So we're trying to create a structure that will allow, or will make it easier, it will be, work towards these individuals that know their purpose and finding their place within the scope of a particular, like a particular goal.
Right.
Right. And so we want to be able to not only bring everything together, but also help fund, not just research, because, I mean, to be honest, most of this information is ancient, right? And it's science that's catching up with these ancient understandings. And so while some of it is about funding the process of making it scientific, right? A lot of it, most of it is going to be about funding the sharing, right? And so how does this person's studies, how do we get it out to become more mainstream?
That's right.
And I think it's going to be a long process, because you have to be careful. We have to make sure that whatever we include in that structure is in line with, in harmony with, in tune with the overall goal. But on the flip side of that, we also have to understand that there's going to be things that I may look at and say, well, that doesn't match what I see. But then here's another person that's like, well, yeah, it kind of does if you look at it from this angle. So it's not a black and white concept, right? It's going to be a process of really trying to feel if the individual themselves is striving towards the same general goal, right? And that's where I think it's going to be a little bit of a process to it. But that's what we're working towards overall. And from there, you springboard into how do we, not just fund these things, but what do we do with the money that's being generated through this? And that's where we can come into things like infinite impact. Right, like it's all about, all of this is about creating a structure. Right now we got to have money to do that, right? It's the funding. And so it's about finding ways to generate that funding to bring this to reality.
Right. So in your, you mentioned your friend on Facebook, and she's metaphysics, that, are there many other people like you that are this deep out, that you found out that you can connect with? Because I'm sure in some cases you talk to somebody and it's like, I'm college level, you're kindergarten level. So you have to have conversations that are very, surface. And there's some people maybe like her, that you can go deep.
Right.
Is there like a group of Wes Heffernan type really deep people out there, or just a
There's
few?
a lot more than what I had thought there would have been a couple of years ago. There's also, I think more than that, the bigger check mark to put in the box is the number of people that are looking, that are asking, they may not be able to go as right, but they have awoken. And whatever that may mean, they're beginning to try to find their own place, right? And some people may know what their purpose is and they're looking to find that place, and some people that are new to this are still looking for their purpose and place. But I mean, it's not like we've all gone through this as teenagers moving into an adulthood, finding your purpose and place. The problem is we don't. We end up settling, or we end up, because of our environment, or just the functionality of our existence, we have to go get a job, we have to go do this, we have to go do that, and this and that over here, and there's no, the concept of choice is so limited, right? And that's what we need to do away with. But we have to build something that will allow for this process to unfold, right? While at the same time tearing down the structure that's limiting that process from occurring.
Are you ready for that fight?
So
the tearing down of the structure that, like you said, is...
It's not something, it's going to happen
years.
whether we're ready or not. It's happening now, right? Like, I mean, even with what's going on in Israel right now, that's a part of this bigger story that we're all a part of, that we're going to have to finish, right? That story has to be finished. Now we can begin, and so what it boils down to is, instead of all of us living this one giant story, we need to all live our own story and create naturally a bigger story, right? And so everything that's going on in the Middle East, that's a huge part of whether you want to believe it or whether you are not, right? It's one of the chapters, right, in the story that's been written, and we're living that out. And so it's not a matter of, are we ready, or am I ready, or is anybody ready? It's not so much that. Kind of when I walked in today, I was like, man, I feel the least prepared I've felt in coming in to sit down and do one of these. But it doesn't matter, right? You're still going to sit down and do it. You're still going to have to go through whatever it is that we have to go through as individuals and as a collective whole. And one of the things that I think should be taken into consideration, or at least discussed through the concept of the last chapter in the Bible, right? Like, that's more of a personal battle. It's not a global battle. It can be, and if we don't take our personal journeys to go through that battle, it will be a global thing, right? But all of what that's speaking to is the individual that's reading that story. And these are the things you need to go through. These are the things that you have to overcome. These are your archetypical situations and people that you're going to run in your hero's journey, right? And it's not about being anybody's hero other than your own. Save yourself.
Well, speaking of the last chapter of the Bible, you can think about, like, so many people seeing the torment and the things that was being put on them, and they still didn't believe, right? So do you feel like with your teaching, you're able to eloquently explain things to people about your vision, but some people just, they don't see it?
Some will and some won't. So what next? That was an old phrase I learned in sales, right? Some will, some won't. So what next? There's only a small percentage of people that, me personally, this story is going to reach, right? The way that I hope it does. There's a larger group that my story may create a spark or cause someone to have just to relook at something, right? And kind of the ripples of the story. But I know for sure there's probably half the population that this isn't going to resonate with. Somebody else's story might, because of where they are, right? But I mean, there's a huge portion of the population that this isn't going to resonate with at all, and that's fine.
Thanks for watching. Join us next time on Conscious Evolution. Don't forget to subscribe.